So we are recording. It is episode 6 of the Royal Ramble with Matt and Rory. And
Yay.
today we are I'm going to give Matt three to choose from off the list. We're not going to
Mm.
roll the dice. And so, number one to choose from
Okay.
is my felony traffic stop.
Oh, Jesus.
The
Okay.
second one is the time the Air Force flew me to the wrong country.
Okay.
And the third topic to choose from is what was your first experience outside the US?
Ooh. We were talking about international a minute ago. Let's do first experience out of the US.
Okay, cool.
That'd be fun.
There-
That'd be fun.
yeah, there's a reason why that's on my list.
Oh God. Oh,
So,
Jesus.
yeah. So, what was your first experience outside the U.S.?
My first experience outside the US back in 2010, maybe 7 months after boot camp. Got my first deployment orders at Fort Bragg, Pope Army Airfield. I think it was Pope Air Force Base at the time.
Yep.
Going to Afghanistan. We're winning the war, boys. And so
Wow.
I
So,
I got
wow. Okay.
on.
So,
Yeah.
legit, your first time outside the United States was going. I mean, so
Yep.
it was 2010. So Afghanistan had been in the news since 2002 at least, maybe
Yeah.
2001, right? Following September
Yep.
11th. So, do you even know where it was, like on a map, or are you like, I gotta look this
Because
shit up?
I was like 19. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
19 years old, heading over to Afghanistan, my guy. No clue. The first place I landed outside the US was I mix them up because I went to the same place 7 months apart. So I might
yeah,
mix up the first German place I went to, but it was either Ramstein or Spangdahlem, one of the two.
yeah. It's
I
probably
th-
Ramstein, but
I
yeah,
think it was Ramstein. I stopped at both, and I can't remember which one it was. But I remember going to Germany, and I think it was the first time at Ramstein. And when I got off, we landed on Ramstein Air Force Base. So generally speaking, everything looked the same as North Carolina. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
Because we're on an installation. Um, when we started really seeing change, when I started realizing I am not stateside anymore, right?
yeah.
We get on the flight from Ramstein for our first layover, right? Incirlik, Turkey.
Okay.
Okay. Started to meet some different people, different foods on the flight. All right. Different.
These
Okay.
are all charter flights, though. It's not like going to
Charter
C-130 or
flights.
see something.
Yep.
Okay.
Not Mill. We didn't hit
Yeah.
Mill till the third stop. Our really like realization we're not in Kansas anymore. We went from Germany to Incirlik to Manas,
Okay.
Bishkek,
Yeah, yeah.
Kyrgyzstan. I'm sure you've been there.
A couple of times.
Um, we stopped in Kyrgyzstan, and it was so surreal that experience because that's when I like felt I was not anywhere because really you're the airports at Germany and
Yeah.
Incirlik. Manas, we stayed a day or two. And when I came out and I looked, and there's just mountains,
You can see the
massive
Himalayas
mountains,
from there. Yeah.
massive
Yep.
mountains. I've never seen mountains that big in my life. All around snow on top, warm down where you're at. It's just a bizarre
Yeah.
experience. Then, oh, I had a pop up. Hold on a second. There we go. So, see the mountains in the background. We got to go to Pete's place. We couldn't drink that time. We went to Pete's place, a little bar on base, and I started talking with like the not the vendor, but like the not the barkeep, but whoever the guy running the little cafeteria,
MWR, whatever it was. Yeah.
MWR. Yep. And it's all TCNs. And for those that
Hmm.
don't know, TCN Third Country National, like contracted local labor
Local people.
almost.
Yep.
Yep, local people, and we got our hair cut by the Asiatic slash Russian ladies that were in Kyrgyzstan, and it was so surreal that first interaction with just being in a foreign land. Right, I
Yeah.
see people that have traditional Asian features, but also traditional European features at the same time.
Oh,
Is
you're on that
wild.
spot in the world to where
It's
everything meets.
wild.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So some of the features reminded me of my good friend Josh growing up because he's Korean, right?
Yeah.
Um, Asian features, blonde hair, blue eyes, fair skin. was so interesting, and getting to see the little stores they had there. They had little yurts you could buy
Yep.
stuff out. You remember, yeah, little yurts. The real for real. We went from Bishkek on a mill plane to Afghanistan, and I'm like, the world is so much bigger than what your mind comprehends. And if you're like, if you never went anywhere or stayed stateside the whole time, you live in a bubble, right?
Yep.
You live in your bubble. Everything in the state of whatever I live in is important to me. Anything else or the US is important to me. Who cares? Canada, who cares? It's tiny. South America is fake. You know what I mean? Like all these other
Yeah.
things are not real. Then you travel and you're like, the US is just a small part of this giant, massive,
Oh yeah.
you know, flat Earth.
Yeah. And they all think that the U.S. is they yeah their perception of the U.S. is everybody's rich and whatever else, and I
Yeah, I
mean
mean,
yeah everybody has
and
things.
technically, I mean, in
Oh,
Afghanistan,
compared to them,
I
yes, we all
I
are
would
rich.
think the same thing. I
Yeah.
mean, you've seen it, I'm sure too. Guy, you would see like little huts outside of the wire. A
Oh yeah.
guy's living there with like a little mud hole for his window,
Yeah.
just growing stuff with a water runoff from the base.
Yeah.
Just wild,
So
crazy.
this isn't my first time out of the states, but when I first got to Afghanistan, I was in Afghanistan spring of 2002.
Okay, it's
So
spicy.
May of '02, we were the first conventional people to go into country, and um, we flew. I was advanced party for 18th Airborne Corps, and we flew out of Fort Bragg
Mhm.
to Ramstein, and then Ramstein straight into Afghanistan. And
Oh,
we
that's a hike.
switched. We flew a C5 over. So
Oh, how
we had
was
all
that? If I can interrupt, see, how
yeah.
was that C5?
So C5 is an interesting aircraft. For people that don't know, a C5 is huge, right? You can put tanks on
Massive.
C5s. The front end lifts up. You can drive
I think you
straight
can fit
through it.
like 6 school buses or something crazy.
Yeah, like legit, like loadmasters will like throw a football and stuff in there when it's empty. They'll play around in there, and then you go in. There's a small stairwell. You go up, and I think it seats like 70 people on the
Mm,
top. There's a deck for seating. The oddest thing is you sit backwards, so you face the tail of the aircraft.
that's
So when
weird.
you take off, it is weird. There's only like 18 or 20 of us on there, so we all pretty much just took a row. The seat armrests come up, and you just take it out and you just lay down and sleep.
Did y'all have all y'all's
Um,
like because Army deploys together kind of. Did you
oh
have
no,
all your gear on
you
there
know, we had all of our gear. I think
on
they
the belly?
palletized most of our gear, so
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was like
yeah.
we had our A bags, our backpack, but all of our duffel
Well,
bags and
I was
whatever else.
thinking like trucks and
Oh no,
connexes
no.
and
So we had some stuff, some equipment and things like that, but most of it wasn't ours because we were only advanced party. We were there
true.
to meet the other people to grease the wheels to get the rest of our equipment in,
Gotcha.
and so, um, and then we flew from there into Afghanistan. And when we landed in Afghanistan, like we're the first conventional folks there, right? So we land. There's like no lights or anything, and I'm expecting the tailgate to drop and like traces going back and forth. I have no
Yeah,
idea what the hell
yeah.
I'm getting into. And we get off. They're like, "Hey, walk over here, watch your step and whatever else," because like the first thing was like, "There's landmines everywhere." I was like, "Oh
True.
shit, here we go." And we go. And I mean, there were legit like dudes sitting around 55-gallon drums that were cut in half with fires going in them, keeping it warm and stuff. And I mean, it was just
Jeez.
so. I mean, there are a few porta potties here and there, and you go in a building, you pretty much get a landmine brief, some other information, scanned your cat card or whatever, so that you'd be in country at that
Hmm.
time. And then they let us back into this area, and they're like, "Here's your tent." And it was like 10 o'clock at night. It was dark. Our tent was still in a crate, and they're like, "Here you go."
Jeez.
And like, so we slept pretty much on the tent that night, out under the stars, and the next day we
Was
put
it
our
eerily
tent up.
silent?
It was, and there was no
Yeah.
perimeter on Bagram Air Base at that point in time.
Wow.
So like we're putting our tent up the next day, and we're like pounding. And if you've never built like a GP medium tent, it's got like 3 foot long wooden stakes, and you have this big ass wooden mallet you're pounding them in the ground with. This is a minefield like a week ago that they cleared, and you're pounding these
Holy
fucking
moly.
stakes in the ground. You're like, hey, here we go. Let me just let's pound this in the ground. And so you're doing that, and you got like locals walking through trying to they're trying to sell you old Afghan money. They're trying to sell you Russian
Yeah.
bayonets and whatever else. And but that was my first experience in Afghanistan. There were, I mean, MREs and T rations, which we'll talk about T rations later in another
I don't
talk
know if
since
I've
I'm
ever
on the
had
topic.
those. Yeah.
You have. It's the big. it's the big meal for 30 people or whatever
Oh
that
yeah,
you
yeah,
get
yeah.
to
Okay, I
accomplish.
just had some. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I just
So
had some.
T rations. So it was T ration breakfast, T ration dinner, MRE for lunch. Um, we didn't have a PX for the first couple of weeks. Then they came through, and PX was stuff that whatever was left after it got stolen from every checkpoint driving in from Turkey.
Sure.
Um, it was terrible. But so that was that. But my first real experience outside of the states, same thing. I joined the army at 20 years old. I just completed an associate's degree and joined the military, and got my orders. You know, in basic training in the army, you fill out a wish list, and you're like, hey,
Yep.
here's my top 5 places I want to go. And I think you had a list like so many stateside, so many overseas. And I'm like, okay. And I wanted to go to Germany. My sister was there at the time. I'm like, it
Yeah,
sounds
yeah.
sounds cool in Germany. And I got Korea like everybody else. And so um,
Oh,
within like
Korea was your first spot.
yeah, not by choice, but yeah, it was the first place I
Oh,
went. And
what
so
a cool experience.
it was, but I didn't appreciate it at the time.
Yeah,
Let's put it
yeah,
that way.
yeah.
So, get on a plane and I fly out of a small airport in Iowa and I fly to Chicago. And in Chicago, and I get to Chicago, like the flights to Korea don't leave until like 1 o'clock in the morning or something. And I got there like at 5 p.m.
Mm.
And so then you've got like a layover and but you got to also imagine all of your stuff gets there with you. And so it goes to
Yep.
flight 12 to Korea on Korean Air at whatever time. So it's sitting here to go on the plane, which isn't going on there until whenever. Well, then, we get on the plane and they're like, hey, we had to make a decision to either take all the bags or all the fuel. And so we decided to take all the bags and half the fuel or whatever. We're going to land in Alaska, refuel, then fly into Korea. I'm
Cool.
like, okay, cool. So we land in Alaska. We're there for like 2 hours refueling or whatever. And then we get back and we take off. We land in Korea. So this is in 1998. Okay.
Okay.
Korean Air. You could smoke on Korean Air in
No
1998. You just
kidding.
had to go get up from your seat, go back to like the galley area by the bathrooms, by the lavatories, and you could smoke. Right, Korean Air. It's
That's
pretty cool.
so wild.
Later on, Korea Air would no longer be able to be contracted for U.S. soldiers because they crashed their planes and landed with our
Oh
planes way
shit.
too many times. But anyway,
Yeah.
so I land in Korea. No idea what's going on. Okay, I have no idea what day it is. I have
Mm.
no idea because you've crossed the international date line because we're going the other way around the world and whatever else. And so I have no idea what day it is. I don't know what time of day it is. I'm just confused. There's nobody there to meet me. And I'm like sitting there. I'm a white kid from Iowa, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And I'm like looking for my bags in the carousel, and nothing's coming. So I've got like a backpack,
Ooh.
right? And then, okay, so my name is not the easiest name to pronounce in the world. And
Mm.
eventually, I realize this Korean dude on top of the carousel is saying my name. And so then I go, and I'm like, "Hey, that's me." And he's like, "Your bags aren't here." I'm like, "Well, where are they?" He goes, "They're in Chicago."
Oh
They're at your
no.
they were at your departure location. And I'm like, when will they get here? He's like, I don't know when they get here. So I'm like, okay. So I am an E3 in the United States Army, my first duty station, just graduated basic training and advanced individual training, got my
Mm.
MOS. And so then I'm like, okay, where do I go? I was expecting somebody here in like a uniform to meet me and be like, hey, how
Yeah,
you doing?
yeah.
Let's get in this train. No idea. And so some other dude with short hair, he's like, hey, are you new? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, hey, we're going to the base at Seoul. We'll take you to reception. I'm like, okay, all right,
Sounds legit. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And they're American dudes,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm like, okay. And he's like, where's your stuff? I'm like, I don't know. The guy up there told me it's lost. And he's like, okay, we'll get it figured out. And I don't know what rank that dude was, E4, E5, I don't know. But they had a cab, and so we all jumped in this cab, and they took me to replacement. And I show up with a copy of my orders and whatever, and they're like, where are you, whatever, right? And so once again, no idea what's going on, right?
Mm.
And this is like, it wasn't pre-internet. I had internet in high school. I had internet in my
Yeah,
house.
yeah.
In a small town. I was one of the first people there because my mom worked for the state school system. And so I mean, I had access like MapQuest and things like that, but I
Mm.
didn't really. I should have done some research like on Korea, right?
Well,
But
the internet back in the
it
early
was,
2000s
yeah,
is
yeah,
like that's a
rudimentary.
whole different
Yeah,
thing than like
yeah.
today,
There was
you
no
know.
Wikipedia or anything like that. So,
No.
so I get to 19th replacement, and usually you're at 19th replacement for like 2 or 3 days, and they get all your stuff sorted and whatever else. And I got there like at 8 o'clock in the morning or whatever, and they're like, "Hey, here's your train ticket, and you're getting off at at 3:10. This train will stop. You need to get off, and then you need to there'll be a person there for you." And they're like, "If you don't get off, the train only stops for like a minute." Like 90 seconds or whatever, and then it starts moving again. So if you are not off at 3:10, and it will stop at 3:10. If it says 3:10 is your stop, it will stop at 3:10.
Damn.
So I'm like, what the hell, right? And so I
What?
get on this train, like, don't fall asleep. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so they're like, pile up all your stuff at the door, and then when the train stops, just start kicking everybody's stuff off. You'll figure it out once you get on the ramp or whatever. It's
Hmm.
like, okay.
Okay. Yeah,
And
because you got some of your gear and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, well, I didn't. I only had a backpack. Everybody else
Oh,
had a
true.
whole
Yeah.
suitcase
Yeah. Yeah.
because my
True.
stuff was lost.
Yeah.
So so I land, get my stuff off, and then I'm going, and I find a dude, and he's like, okay, he's looking for me because apparently they've made some calls or whatever. And we go, and everybody's like, where's your stuff? And I'm like, dude, I don't know. I'm like, I'm a private. I don't know where my shit is. It's lost, right? Well, so then we go through all this stuff, and they would not let me in process because you have to be in uniform to in process, and my uniforms are in Chicago.
Uh, that's
And
that's
so,
that's
um,
traditional army for you. I love
yeah,
that.
yeah.
That's
So
great.
now I am, uh, okay, so I'm here, right? And so two things happened that I did not know when I landed. Number one was it was like the day before the Chuseok holiday or whatever, which
Hmm.
is like Christmas, New Year's, and everything combined in the Korean calendar. Like everything
Oh
stops
wow.
for like 4 days. Everybody in the southern portion of South Korea goes to the northern portion. Everybody in the northern portion goes to the southern portion. You can't get a train ticket, taxi, drive, anything. Everything's just locked up for like 4 days.
Wow.
Okay.
Were they
The
visiting
other,
family, I guess, or something?
yeah, yeah, it's just a
Okay.
huge
Yeah. Yeah.
holiday. The other thing was uh, monsoon Yanni was coming in and about to make landfall at the same time I was arriving. So they wanted to get
Mm.
everybody pushed out before this storm hit and before this holiday shut everything down. Which is why I didn't spend 2 days there doing anything in processing or anything. They
Yeah.
just put me on a train to get out of there so they didn't have people stuck for a week. So okay, so I get there. Well, so I can't in process. I have nothing but like the pair of jeans I brought, a couple pairs of drawers, a couple pairs of socks I had with me, and a t-shirt or whatever, and it's torrential downpouring for like a week with this monsoon's happening. Somebody gave me a poncho. Some people hooked me up. Whatever
Man.
else, they did whatever they could. Within like a week or so, my bag showed up. They've been rifled through. I was missing half my shit and whatever.
Man.
But that was my introduction to my first time traveling outside the United States, and it sucked. Made a
I would be a
cool
little bitter.
experience,
Yeah. Yeah.
but like, and so the other thing was, if you think about it, all the new privates that come in, like every week there's new privates coming in,
Hmm.
right? And so like a week later, you got another group of new privates coming in. I'm still standing around civilian clothes in the back of a formation, like, who are you? Oh, I'm whatever. But people are
Hi.
talking to me because I've been there for a week. The
Yeah.
organization knows me, but I'm this kid
Yeah.
standing there they wouldn't let me stand in formation without uniform. And so um, I became that guy to a certain extent because everybody kind of knew me because I was not like everybody else, which didn't hurt me, didn't help
Yeah.
me necessarily. But I mean, the first sergeant knew who I was pretty dang quick, not because I was bad, but because I
Go the problem. Yeah.
literally stood out. And it was a problem that they had to fix, a logistical issue. I didn't have my shit.
Yeah.
And so that was my first experience. But like, I, um, I was 20 when I got there, turned 21. You could drink at 20 in Korea, so nobody,
Yeah.
I mean, so,
That's
uh,
another first experience outside the US I never knew. Was when I was in Germany, I was 19, you could
oh,
have a drink. Blew my I was like, "Wow, dude."
yeah. And so that was, I spent a lot of time partying and doing dumb stuff in Korea instead of
Mhm.
seeing Korean culture, which looking back now, I wish I did other stuff on my weekends other than standing around the barracks and drinking and things like that. But I did tour. I mean, I don't know how many times I went to the Korean War Museum,
Cool.
which is all sorts. It's not just Korean War. It's all sorts of. It's war from like beginning of time. They got Bronze Age tools in there and stuff, all the way along. So
Man,
it's every war the Koreans have been in. So you got all that stuff in there. Um, I mean, I went on a pass once I took a pass for a weekend, like a 4-day weekend, and just like kind of backpacked around Seoul, like slept on park benches and stuff, and just kind
that's
of did whatever I
awesome.
wanted to around Seoul for a few days. And it's a safe. I mean, it's a relatively safe place. I mean, I felt safer in Seoul than I would like in New York City or anything.
Yeah.
Wasn't really worried about it. Made friends with the taxi driver who I could pretty much. Uh, I picked him up and I was like, "Hey, tomorrow at this time, be here, and I'll take you." You know, and made some coordinations with that, which worked out really well. But it was, I mean, it was a good experience. I kind of wish I'd been back to Korea at some point in time. Never went
Hmm.
back. I kind of wish I would have got a second opportunity, a little bit senior person to go back and see some things.
Yeah,
Would have
yeah.
been great, but I didn't. So if
That's
you've
an
been,
interesting
yeah,
that's an interesting topic. The security in a foreign land. So it's going to vary by place you go, but like, kind of like you said in Korea, you felt very safe and comfortable. In some Middle Eastern countries, like the wealthier areas, like in Qatar, I never felt like endangered. Like it was the
okay,
safest place I think I've ever been in my life,
yes and no.
which is bizarre.
So
At least the areas that we would frequent, right?
yeah,
The
they're
relative safety compared to like Fort Bragg, like that place is
or
dangerous.
Merc.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
yeah.
when I lived in Riyadh for 2 years later on. So 2010 to 2012, I lived in Riyadh and worked there. I was in the military, but I mean, I wore civilian clothes. Probably
Hmm.
80% of the time, I was in civilian clothes, and most of the time, I felt good. I had no
Mm,
real issues, and depending who I was around, there were times too where I became aware that we were being followed around by Saudi Arabian National Guard personnel, and they were
that's
just keeping an eye
interesting.
on us so that nothing did happen to us. And so I was aware of it a few times, but I
Yeah,
don't know the times I wasn't aware about it and people were following us around.
that's
Um,
weird. Yeah.
and that's if they knew we were there, I think, because there were a lot of times we would just take off and go and do things. A lot of
Hmm.
times we would go and hang out in the desert and do stuff, and there's nobody around for miles that you know of.
Hmm.
But if you were downtown, and I mean, I spent a lot of time with, I mean, I had a fixer who I worked with who was a Saudi national and stuff, and there were times we'd be in whatever area, and he would. This is culturally what they would do. He reached out and he'd grab my hand. He's like
Hmm.
holding my hand, walking through an area,
Hmm.
and I just look at him. He's like, "I'm just letting everybody know that you're my bitch. You're with me, and you're good to go." I mean, but culturally, that's what they do. That's their part of their group and their clique and whatever, and that's their people that are good.
Talking about travel in outside the U.S. for the first time, out of the places you have been, so out of the places you have been, what is the food group that you really like the most? Was it food like in Europe? Was it food in Korea? Was it food in Afghanistan? I know there's
So
benefits at all
I
of
would,
them.
yeah, yeah, I would. European food is good, but
Hmm.
we're a European culture.
Yeah,
You're gonna find most of that stuff here in the States. It's not gonna be as of good quality, but it's gonna be all right. Um,
familiar.
yeah, yeah, familiar enough to where you're gonna think the stuff in Europe doesn't taste good because you've eaten the bastardized version in America for too long.
Yeah, yeah.
The Middle East, what I'll give you is living in Riyadh. There are so many third state workers in Riyadh. You can go out at 2 o'clock in the morning and get food from any culture in America, or not
Agreed.
America, but any culture in the world that you want, because they've
Agreed.
got people from Korea, they've got people from all sorts of parts of Africa,
I never
Egypt. Well,
ate
that's
more
Africa, but
Filipino food in my
there you go.
life until I
Yep,
went to Qatar in a Middle Eastern country eating delicious Middle Eastern food. But
yep.
when I
And
got
chicken
into the
adobo. Yep,
when I got into the Filipino Mafia Club, I was grandfathered in,
yep.
and they're like, "Let's go find some food." It was heaven. It was amazing.
Yeah, and um, culturally, and that's the Middle Eastern culture is the hospitality there is different. Everybody's a guest.
Yeah.
They'll feed you and whatever. They may hate you, but if you're inside the house, they'll give you protection until you leave. That's part of their one of the pillars of Islam and whatever else. Um, and so those folks would feed you, take you out, and do all sorts of stuff. I mean, it's the food there was insane. I mean, I would go
Yeah.
back just for the food and the architecture. Honestly, going and looking at the
Oh
buildings in
yeah.
Riyadh
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
around the country, Jeddah and whatever else, um,
Beautiful.
was just amazing. All that, and there are parts that are absolutely poor. I mean, there are parts we drove
100%.
across the peninsula, and you still have like highwaymen robbers out there that you got to watch that'll come and try and rob you with everything. I
Mm.
mean, I remember being at a gas station in the middle of nowhere. it wasn't quite the empty corridor, that's further south, but driving between Riyadh and Jeddah, and you're talking hours of nothing.
Hmm.
And we're at a gas station, and I remember seeing a Muslim, like Bedouin lady pull up in a Mercedes, which Mercedes over there is a regular car, but
Yeah,
pulling
yeah.
up in a car, she's driving it, which is like a no go in their culture. But out there in the middle of nowhere, it's acceptable because she's got to get from point A to point B to get whatever.
Yep.
And so she gets out of the car, there's an AK in the back seat and whatever, and that's just how they roll because there are rolling bandits out there and
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah, yeah,
that. So
yeah.
it's like it's different. This thing's it's kind of wild west when you get out in that area out there because you never know what's going to happen. You just roll. There's no real speed limits. Nobody cares. You just
Did
kind of get from
did
point A to point B.
anything food wise, and that you were young when you went there, so you may not remember or like may not have partook a lot, but was there anything in Korea food wise that really stuck out? Like, man,
Oh
this
yeah.
was awesome.
So a couple of things. Number one, the ramen you get in Korea absolutely different than the ramen in the states, right? It's not the
Okay.
same as you're going to get packaged ramen or whatever. But one of the things I love wherever I go is street food. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love street food. Street food in Korea was awesome. I mean, the chicken on a stick or whatever you're gonna get in the
Mm-hmm.
streets. They had these. I don't even know what they're called. Like almost like a pancake, like a sweet pancake. They'd serve like unwrapped up like magazine paper or whatever.
Oh,
And those
that's
were always
cool.
delicious. I can never remember what those were called. But eating in Korea is very social. Very social, and you all
Mm.
sit pretty much on a floor with a table that's like a foot off the ground or whatever, sitting around that, and you eat everything is spicy, and you sit and you pretty much drink soju, and they throw you've got a like a almost like a wok in front of the middle of the table, right, built into
Yeah,
the
yeah.
table, and they'll throw some oil in there, some pepper paste, and they'll come by and like the people that are serving you will throw some meat in there, and you're kind of like talking and pushing the meat around and kind of everything else, and you're taking that out and you're eating it as you go, and there's rice and whatever else, and that's delicious. I'm sure there's a name for that whole
Mm.
process, but I don't know what it is. The other thing was this thing called tteokbokki, and it's this big fat rice noodle with this red pepper paste, and they serve it like in a plastic bag.
I got
And
some downstairs.
okay, and
It's
we
like a
would,
rice noodle. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's a
With
fat
like a
rice noodle
almost
and red
oh
pepper
like
paste
a
on it.
red vodka sauce almost type
Yeah, yeah,
sauce.
and
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
but it's
yeah.
is it like make like your nose burn spicy or not?
So I got mine from Costco. It's not that
Okay,
spicy.
so the
Yeah, yeah.
stuff in Korea is like make your nose burn spicy, but you would eat that while you're out drinking and stuff. So it was like street food while you're drinking on the hill and stuff. But the ramen, so the ramen, because we would get like chicken cheese ramen. It's got chicken in it and have like a slice of cheese on the
Cheese.
top,
All
and it
right.
would melt down and you'd eat the whole thing. And you were usually somewhat inebriated by the time you're eating that.
8 soju's in.
Oh yeah, yeah. But the trick, what we learned with the ramen was, so we would work the hill in Korea, and so you leave the gate and you're on the top of the hill, and you drink. You go and drink a couple of bars on the way down the hill, and then a couple of bars on the other side on the way up the hill. Then you come back in the gate and you'd stumble home.
Oh Christ.
That's what everybody did. And there were different bars. The one was called the Queen Bee, and it was a straight up grenade sump. And that's where all the military police people hung out. And you went
Dude.
downstairs into this bar, and it maybe 40 people could fit inside this thing, and there'd be like 80 of you in there, and you're drinking and whatever. And in the back to go to the bathroom, you go up these steps, and it had like Eastern toilets, right? Just a hole in the
Yeah.
ground, and it had like three of them. There was no male or female. It was just three bathrooms, and so everybody would be in there going to the bathroom or whatever. You walk in, right by people like other female team members, and they're squatting and peeing in the corners, whatever, right? And so, but that place, I mean, I called it a grenade sump because if anybody threw a grenade down those stairs, you couldn't go anywhere. The
Yeah,
only way
yeah.
in and out was up that thing. But you go and you drink on all those, and then you'd go to these little bodega joints up at the top of the hill that would have ramen or other Korean food. You can get some like chicken fried rice style stuff, or um, or just regular sodas and chips or whatever. And but we'd go in there and you get like chicken cheese ramen before you went home. It'd be like 2:30 in the morning or whatever. And the trick with this is when you've been drinking all night, eat the ramen and drink all of the broth because that salty, brothy water is what you need to keep you from being hungover the next morning. So you think about people drinking
Yeah.
Gatorade before they go to bed. The salty ramen broth is the exact same thing. A whole bunch of electrolytes and fluid, and it replaces all that. You're good to go the next morning.
My two favorite kind of like street food type things when we were in Qatar. One was there's a giant golden thumb over in Qatar. It's just a giant like Why? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a
Street art
giant
kind of
gold
thing.
thumb,
Yep.
you know, but beside it, there's like a Turkish chicken wrap place.
Yep.
Man, it had the
Donor or Donner.
tzatziki
Yep.
Greek
Yep.
yogurt type thing. Freaking delicious chicken, veggies all in it, wrapped up like a taco. Oh my god,
Well, and
freaking
that's I
four
whenever we were
dollars. Come
yeah,
on,
whenever we were out
so
in
good.
Saudi on the streets, all I ever wanted was like falafel and shawarma. And like people were like,
Yeah,
"Oh, why do you want this crap food?" Because that's like street comfort food, man.
it's
I
the
just
good
want
stuff.
good falafel and good shawarma. And you can't find that stuff here in the States. I've had
Hmm.
it and it's like it's not any good. Even like falafel here, you can find falafel. The best falafel I've found in the States is in Minneapolis. Um, what is the name of the place? It's oh man, hold on. Now I'm gonna like lose my mind. They got a place in the airport. Um,
While you're looking that up, my second favorite place that we went to, so there was four of us that went out, and we went to a Syrian place that was
yeah,
just kind of like a hole in the wall. And they're like, "How many?" We said four. They said it was like eight, maybe like 50 or $60 for all four of us. They're like,
yeah,
"This is how much it costs to eat here for all four." I said, "Okay." They literally brought out pallet trays of French
food.
fries,
Yeah,
pallets of like kebab, chicken, lamb. Then the best to me, one of the best parts. I'm a huge carb guy. Freak non bread, so fresh. It had dust
yeah.
from the clay oven, like on like dirt and ash underneath it. They pull it out, it's all inflated, and it deflates while it's like sitting there with the hummus right there with all the spices in it and the oils. Oh my god,
So the place I'm thinking of is
so
called
awesome.
it's called the Holy Land, and it's in
Of
Minneapolis.
course it is,
Yeah,
yes.
it's in Minneapolis, and it's got a grocery store too and everything in it, supermarket, the whole 9 yards, but it's a restaurant on one side.
Mm,
Outside of being in the Middle East, the best food I've ever had.
good.
Yeah, but they got a place in the airport too. But yeah, like my mouth's watering right now thinking about it. But I miss. I mean, I most and that's the thing. Like of the places I've been, it's the food really
Yeah.
that I miss out of all of them that you just can't find anywhere else. And I've talked about that with other people because there's people that have been with Korea, Middle East, in Europe, whatever. Like, oh no, I'm not gonna go try that. I'm not gonna eat that, whatever. Like, why not? You know what I mean? Just go and
It's not going to get much better than eating it right
yeah.
there. You
And
know what I
that's
mean?
what, but I mean, don't be afraid of trying it. These people eat it and they're
Yeah.
still alive. Why not at least try it once? You may or may not
Hmm.
like it. There's people that don't like the food that it's native to their culture anyway,
Yeah.
but it's at least worth it to try it.
Grits.
Oh yeah.
Can we talk about grits?
We're not going to talk about grits yet. But there are, I talked about grits at work the other day. People thought I was crazy. Um, there there's no better way to bridge any gap with a local national and you than going out and literally like legit breaking bread and
What's the
eating
best thing?
food and having them because they want you to experience their culture and they want to
Yeah.
see what your response is to eating their food and everything.
Hmm.
And that, I mean, that goes back. I've probably told you this story. Like I was in Saudi and I was sitting around one Christmas time, one of these Saudi sheikhs we worked with and knew, and he had us there. And it was me as a U.S. soldier. I was working with a Egyptian Coptic Christian that took us out to this place. You got the Saudi sheikh. There was one guy who was from Yemen but went to college in Cuba under Castro. He was a Yemeni
Ooh,
communist,
interesting.
and then another guy who was a Saudi Arabian National Guard soldier, and we're all sitting there drinking bootleg booze that was smuggled in the country, listening to Johnny Cash country album on TV, and just drinking and eating and bullshitting about what our thoughts are and things. And their thing was, well, what were your expectations when you came here? I was like, I had none. I can't
Yeah.
come here with preconceived notions. Otherwise, my whole experience is skewed. My
Yep.
experience is based on what you've given to me, the hospitality you've given me, and all the other things. I mean, that it's you can't go in not wanting the experience. I think that's half the soldiers that end up going places. They don't want to do it. They just want to go do
Yeah.
their job and get out of there. They miss their family, whatever. That's great, but you're there. You aren't going to get out of there
Mm.
any faster. You might as well, and I'm not saying go native. You don't need to become a Saudi and convert and go do the
Yeah.
Hajj or
Buy a
anything.
Thuman Gutra or whatever.
So, I mean, if you don't have one of those, you've been there for a few years, you're wrong.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I wasn't wearing that out. You know what I mean? I'm wearing a pair of khakis and a polo shirt and, you know, but you're accepted. They understand that. They don't expect you to go and like go native. They know that you're a third state worker in their country.
Hmm.
But they're glad you're there and enjoying their culture with them. I think is the biggest thing.
All right. So, what about traveling internationally? Least favorite thing when you were in a country? Like something that stood out like, man, I can't stand this.
Um, I mean, I'm not going to say prayer call because
Yeah, yeah.
at a certain point in time you become you don't even hear it anymore. At a certain point,
Desensitized.
yeah,
Yeah.
you become desensitized to it. The frustrating part about that is I've been chased off the street in Riyadh before. The
Okay.
Matawa or the religious police, they run around with big rattan canes. They smack them on the ground when
Oh,
you're on
yeah,
the
yeah,
street
yeah.
still, and they chase you off the street and stuff. Usually when they turn around, they realize you're American. They don't care. Um, Italy, probably one of the things I couldn't stand there were the crime in Italy was horrible. Like
Pickpockets.
not even pickpockets. Like if you were American, you had fuel rations as an American, and so you went
Hmm.
and you bought fuel coupons. So you buy X amount of liters of fuel at the military on at the PX, right? You'd go back or customer service or whatever, and be like, hey, I need to buy 200 liters of fuel, and you'd pay whatever the going rate was. You'd pay for it, and they'd give you this coupon book for a 10-liter coupon, 20-liter coupon, whatever. And you tear those off. You'd give them to the approved gas station, and they'd give you X amount of liters of gas for those
Mm.
coupons, right? Well, um, if they knew your car was parked on the street and it was an American car, they would break your window and rifle through your car looking for fuel coupons. Because the rate
Really?
we paid in those coupons was different than what they would pay. So they're paying like $5 a liter or €5 a liter. We're paying like $1 a liter. And so those fuel coupons were worth money
Man.
for them. And so they break your window. So pretty much what the going thing was there is don't leave anything in your car and leave it unlocked. That way don't break your window. It's almost like San Francisco
Damn.
today, right? Just make sure
Yeah,
you park
true.
everything in it, leave it unlocked. So that was frustrating. The other thing was, when you rent a place there, you have okay. So we had these huge. We had a big balcony on two sides of our place. We had an apartment in a corner of a only a four-story place, so we ran an apartment on the third floor. Number one, they would tell you don't rent the first floor because you'll be robbed unless you have like
Okay.
bars over your windows because those come into the windows and rob you. And
Jesus.
so you want to be on like at least the third floor so they don't just climb up on your stuff. It's
Mm.
like, okay. And then beyond that, you had like when like the stores close and they drop those things down at the
Mm.
mall. You had those, but they would close all the way down. They'd be solid. That would go over your big windows and your big patio doors and stuff.
That's
And
crazy.
so like at night, you would like more or less close your place and it would be like gated so that they couldn't break in.
That's I didn't
And
expect that. That's crazy. I knew
it
I knew pickpockets were pretty
Oh no
bad,
no
but I
yeah.
didn't know
So
that.
like gypsies will go and rob you blind there, and they're like legit gypsies, like
Yeah, yeah.
campers and stuff, and so they run all sorts of scams and schemes on you. And what'll happen is every building has a big locked door in the front, and the kids will just hit the buzzer, and if they talk to somebody, um, they won't they won't do anything because they know people are there. Oh, sorry, wrong one. They'll wait until there's nobody there, and they just keep hitting the button. And then while they're doing that, people are going up and robbing the place on the other side because they know nobody's there. And so, yeah, there's all sorts of scams and
That's
schemes.
crazy. I think
And so that was the one thing that was not cool about it all.
my least favorite thing that I can remember recently, because you can't control Afghanistan trips.
Yeah.
With Qatar, you don't really interact with locals in Afghanistan, not really, I think
Some. I mean,
a
well, your
little,
job, my job, a little bit different, but yeah.
yeah. My least favorite thing about going to Qatar was the drivers. The drivers in Middle Eastern countries were,
Inshallah, dude, it's all
dude,
fate.
yeah,
It's already written.
lawless, no rules, zero rules, 100 miles an hour,
Yeah.
always. Watch out! You better move. You got no blinkers. Move, just move out of my
Inshallah,
way.
God willing. Yeah, seatbelts. Nope.
Yeah.
They've got like 70 safety standards on things. Kids not in car seats. I've seen people legit riding on top of cars in Riyadh. Um,
Jeez.
But
That
also,
that doesn't
it
surprise me.
was it was not uncommon for us to be out in Riyadh and see like a fatal car accident every day. And so your odds of
Mm,
driving around here, you might see a car accident, but a fatal car accident, like where dudes were like ejected out of a vehicle and laying on the road,
yeah,
daily. There,
yeah,
daily. And
yeah.
that's just the way it was. But it's fate, man. Inshallah, God willing.
I think that
Um,
was probably my least favorite thing. That and like for Qatar is my most recent time, right?
yeah.
Um, the cultural differences with like the wealthy class and the poorer
Oh
class,
yeah.
the entitlement is wild. Get out of my way. I'm
Yep.
important. Skipping you in line. I'm better than you. Very
Culturally,
interesting.
we're like the only culture that forms an actual queue line.
Yeah, yeah,
Everywhere else is a wedge to the front, and
yeah.
it
No
sucks.
rules. No rules.
Um, in Afghanistan, when I was there in 0506, my second trip, we were out a lot and we would go interact with like local police and everything like that, and they would all feed us. And so we
Hmm.
go and they bring out food and everything. And so this is one of those cultural things. We'd sit there and eat, and like it's goat or lamb. You're not sure what the hell it is. It's
Yeah.
meat, right? And it's on a plate. You got rice, okra, some potatoes, whatever, and you're eating. And it was fun to watch my soldiers eat versus watching the Afghans eat. And my soldiers would go for the leanest piece of meat with less fat on it and they eat that. And the Afghans would go for the piece with the most fat on it and eat that
Interesting.
because they're burning, just living, they're burning so many more calories. They don't need protein, they need fat. They need the
Ah,
calories
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
survive. So they want these fatty pieces of meat to eat. And my guys don't want fat because, well, they're eating potato chips and whatever else to
Hell
get their
yeah.
fat. And
Yeah.
so they're just drinking it or whatever else. And so just watching that and how picky some of my guys are like, I'm not eating that food. I'm like, dude, just eat it. I mean, what's gonna happen? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Oh, you're gonna get sick. Well, that guy's gonna get sick too. You'll be all right. And like I had so many people that would just sit there and refuse the food, and I'm like, dude, have I ever told you a story about tea? Having tea
I
with
don't
these guys?
I don't
Okay.
think so.
So I sat down with these guys. I don't have a cup to show you, but I sat down with these guys, right? And I'm not even sure where we were at this point in time. Somewhere in Afghanistan, right, out in the Kandahar area. And we go and we're having tea with these dudes, and they sit down and they're talking to us. And the guy brings out all the little glass cups. Have you ever had tea with them before?
Mm-mm.
So it's all like glass cups, like 4 ounce glass cups, where they set them down. And so you got your 4 ounce glass cups in this tray, and they come out with this thing. I don't know how they boil water there, but it's a hell of a lot hotter than 212 degrees. It's like
Mm.
7,000 degrees is water they boil. And they go and they throw, like one dude will throw like a handful of loose green tea in the water, right? And it's boiling along. Then another guy will come and throw a handful of sugar in there, and it's like so much sugar in there. And then one guy's looking at the glasses, and they're all wearing like the long tops or over cotton or linen or whatever they are. And I watch this dude look at a glass. And he looks at it, spits in it, takes it, sure, cleans it out, hands it to one of the guys, pours tea in it, and you just go, man. Um,
I mean, the
what are you
boiling
gonna
water will
refuse it?
probably kill
And
most
that's
of the
my theory
stuff.
was that
Yeah.
water is so goddamn hot that
Yeah.
I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
But like, what are you gonna do? Like, no, no, dude, no, 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 you're unclean.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
dude, we're here to not get killed. So how about we just drink that shit and move on?
Drink the tea or
Um,
cause international
and I'm
incident.
like,
Yeah.
and you're worried about that dude spitting in that cup and cleaning out his jacket and putting boiling water in it, but you're eating a Taco Bell
Yeah.
off whatever shitty road in the town you came from.
Out of like a
Uh,
little trailer. You know what I mean?
yeah. So I
Gross.
mean, don't worry about that. Um, so that was like one of those experiences, but you don't know where that food comes from. But I had great food in Afghanistan, like the chicken, the okra, all
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff we had from those guys was great food. I mean, I've really not had bad food anywhere. Strangest thing was, I mean, I remember eating. We were somewhere in coastal Italy, and I got some soup, and it had like a baby octopus. It was dead, but it was a baby like octopus, and
Oh.
you could take his tentacles and everything and just hold him,
Yeah.
and just kind of choke that thing down. It's kind of interesting to see in the soup, but yeah, it
One of
was
my
good
favorite
food.
little surprises international was going to McDonald's in different countries, and it was so different. It was so good. So I went to McDonald's in Germany, and
You got to pay
everything's
for all your
bought.
condiments there or not? They
No, no,
charge
no.
you for
I
ketchup?
well, I don't know. I don't think so. All the things are recyclable or
Yep.
biodegradable, the cups and stuff. The burger was good, but in Qatar, McDonald's had Middle Eastern vibe, right?
Yep.
So spicy chicken nuggets with like spicy peri peri sauce and like man, so good. And you
Yeah,
walk into the McDonald's in like a Qatar, you feel like you're in like a high end, like not high end,
a
but like
nice restaurant.
a nice
Yeah,
restaurant. Everybody's wearing almost like flight attendant suits. They have delicious baked goods all on
yeah,
display with espresso machines and like awesome stuff. The everything's so clean and nice. I go to McDonald's here, it's like freaking lawless, just
yeah, yeah,
apocalyptic world. I'm like, oh my god, why
yeah.
don't we have this good shit here? Stateside that they got overseas, man. It made no sense.
Well, over okay, but there's like five of them in Qatar, and
Yeah,
there's
true.
how many here?
A billion, yeah.
Yeah. I don't. I know I ate at McDonald's in Saudi. I think I only ate there a few times. KFC is huge there. KFC is
Yes,
huge there. They had a
KFC, KFC in Qatar, freaking
yeah.
awesome.
There was a local Saudi chicken joint that we ate at a lot, and I'm not even sure how they cook their chicken, but it was so good. If I could find that recipe and cook the chicken that way, it
Let's
would be
talk about
great.
that for a second. So we would get a bucket of KFC chicken in Qatar off base, right?
Yeah,
The chicken breasts, probably organic, normal,
yeah,
small chicken breasts, right?
yeah. It's normal
You
sized chicken.
normal sized chicken breasts. You come stateside, you talk about a big boy, that Big Daddy. You got that GMO chicken over
Well,
here.
so it's the same thing. You could get that in the states, but if you buy like if you have a local person who gets you chicken, you're gonna get
Yeah,
a different
but
thing than they do the
not a
store.
KFC, man.
Well, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Not
okay, I got you.
stateside. Yeah.
But because I've butchered my own chickens and they're like tiny compared to what you find at the
But what's
grocery store.
crazy, the sidebar real quick, the crazy thing is the amount of ingredients and
Oh,
processing US does versus international is mind-boggling.
so okay, I, I don't know if you're track if I told you this or not. I started making my own bread at Christmas. I got a bread machine
Oh
for
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Christmas, right? And this bread is like five ingredients. It's
Wheat,
water,
flour,
it's flour, it's a little bit of oil, salt, um, some sugar or honey, and like yeast,
that's it.
and that's it. If you look at like a bag of bread you're buying wherever else, it's got all this other crap on there. And
Yep.
I'm like, what is this shit? Because it's not going in the bread I'm making here.
Mm-hmm.
And the bread I
It's
make here
stabilize. It's
tastes
shelf
better.
stabilizers. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it can last a hell of a lot longer than the bread I make. But
Mm-hmm.
also, I can make a loaf of bread for like 80 cents or something.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes bad in 6 days. Well, number one, the stuff I'm making only makes like 12 slices as opposed to a loaf with 40 slices or whatever in it. And it's denser. It's actual like bread. Half the bread you're
Mm.
getting in that loaf is air because it's so, yeah. But yeah, it's the same. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think the food you get overseas, no matter where you're at, probably the closer you get to third world is probably actually better, less ingredients than the stuff
I
you
would
get
agree.
closer to a first world country because they're actually making the food the same way they were, 80 years ago or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
using the same ingredients. But the biggest thing is you got to try it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it can be some weird shit, but give it a whirl. I mean, even if you only try it once, you've got to at least do it. Um, and that's like, here's a crazy story. I never growing up ate hummus growing
Mm.
up. Never did. Wasn't super popular or like around back in the 80s or whatever, but I
Yeah,
never
yeah.
ate it. And the reason I didn't eat it is, do you know what humus is? Two
Oh.
M's in humus, one M in hummus. Humus is the last stage in compost before it becomes dirt.
Okay, interesting.
Hummus is ground up garbanzo beans.
Mm-hmm.
So you have humus and hummus. And so like I was never really sure which was which, and
Man,
so I never wanted to eat it.
you get some crackers or some little flat pretzels and
Oh
some
yeah,
roasted
yeah.
red pepper hummus.
Some carrots.
Fucking
I
amazing.
mean, it doesn't.
I
Yeah,
don't know about this carrot thing. I don't know about all that.
I
I'm not trying to get all wild, but
I can
like
eat hummus
pretzels and little chips or something.
with a spoon. And we would go to a Turkish joint that would like make pretty much a smoothie out of anything, like melons. They would grind up melons. You drink that, and it was just so
Oh
good.
man.
And you have a big tray of hummus and whatever you're eating out of. Street food in Riyadh, we go to a place and they would take uh, sugar cane and they'd press sugar cane and they'd get this liquid. You get like a liter of this stuff, and it was more or less like sugar water straight from sugar cane. We'd drink that in the streets. It was so good.
Man.
So good. But there's all that. I mean, it's yeah, food. I think out of like all the places, food um, is the biggest one. I know it's a whole nother subject when we talk about I got one where they flew me to the wrong country, but um, on that same that first trip to Afghanistan, so that was really my second time out of the country. Um, Very few trips out of the country other than or like for like personal recreational
Yeah, yeah.
stuff other than when I was stationed in Italy and just like taking trips, through Europe and things like that. Um, but when I was in Afghanistan in 2002, I was a non-medical attendant for a guy who broke his leg, and so
Oh
Part of the
yeah,
state
yeah.
sent me to carry his bags back to Germany and everything. And they're like, "Hey, you want to do this?" I did that. I was in Germany for like 3 days, drinking beer and enjoying the sights and everything.
Mm.
And then I wanted to fly back into country, and so for people who don't know, a C-17, so C-5 is huge, right? A
Mm-hmm.
C-17 is still big. And a C-17, you can fit, I want to say, two Black Hawk helicopters in a
Yes, you
C-17.
can.
You just got to put them in at a weird angle. You got to
Yep.
kind of disassemble a few parts. I
I've
think you take the
I
rotors
have
off and
ta
just fold them all back.
they fold like this and
Yep,
cover each other.
against the tail, right?
I've taken those off. Yep.
Okay. So I'm trying to get back into Afghanistan from Germany, and so you got to go and show up every day to order. You'd be like, hey, I need to fly back into country, all this stuff. Okay. And so finally, like, okay, there's a flight leaving. You gotta be back here at whatever time on this day. I'm like, okay. So I show up. There's only like 8 of us to get in this plane, right? And so two of the people is like a 1 or 2 star general, and his aide who's a
Oh.
major who
Yeah.
get on this plane. And then there's me and another kid, and then like the other 4 people are the crew chiefs for the 2 Blackhawks that are inside the aircraft. So they're just more or less escorting their
Mm.
birds into country. And then you've got the regular, like the 2 loadmaster dudes, and then the pilots or whatever, they're flying this thing. And so we take off and we're flying. And so for those who've never flown like long distance to C-17, once the plane takes off and levels out, you can take off your seatbelt and do whatever you want.
Yep.
You can go sleep on the floor. You can do whatever you need to do. They've got some little bathroom thing, lavatories up in the front that you can
Mm-hmm.
go into, whatever. And so a lot of times, the floor is usually really warm because there's wiring and shit inside it. So people will lay on the floor and they'll stay warm and whatever, or they'll climb up on a pallet and sleep. Um, and so we're in there, and then all of a sudden, lights drop, red lights come on, and the plane just starts. They're like, "Get back in your seats, put your seatbelts on." I'm like, "What
No
the hell's
shit.
happening?" Right? So I put my seatbelt on. I'm sitting there, and the plane is losing altitude, gaining altitude. It's all over the place, right? I literally, looking in front of me, watch. We lost altitude so quick. I watched the Blackhawks wheels come off the ground and recompress because the plane lost altitude and they were like at 0 G's for a second
Wow.
and compressed. The air crew, or not the air crew, but the crew chiefs for the helicopters, they're unbuckling. They're going to like try and tighten this shit down because they think it's like their aircraft's going to come loose and they're getting
Mm.
worried. The loadmaster dudes or whoever's in charge of the C-17, they're like yelling at these dudes to get back in their seats. The whole time I'm like, dude, we're gonna die over Turkey or wherever the hell we are.
Yikes.
You can see lightning crashing through the little windows in the C-17 and everything. I'm like, the only reason they're gonna look for us because they're the general officer on board. I'm like, at least I have that going for me.
Yo.
They're not gonna look for old Sergeant Summerroth crashed in the woods here or anything. But anyway, so we got that going on, and that was it was kind of it was out there,
That
and
0 G thing is real because when we
oh,
did a tactical,
takeoff,
so
yeah,
first or second trip, whichever one, we left and there was a rock attack happening like
C-130,
C-17,
oh
C-17.
C-17,
Yep.
even better.
So when we took off, so for those that don't know, it can literally go vertical
Yep,
almost. It can go vertical. So we were taking off and all of a sudden
yep,
straight up and your legs and body just like on a roller coaster just starts floating. It like you don't even have to do anything. They just float. It's the
yep.
most weird feeling on this
So
planet.
I've done that in a C-130 multiple times, and once you've done it once, you know it's going to happen, right?
Mm.
And so more, you sit down. If you have your assault pack or whatever, you wrap it in your legs or you strap it to your seatbelt or whatever, and you look around. And I'm like looking, and I'm like, I know all these kids have no idea what's about to
There's,
happen.
there's stuff's about to get thrown
It's
around.
going to go everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And so we take off and we do it. We're fighting, and you feel the G's going because he's pulling you down, right? And like this thing's gonna level off, and shit's gonna go everywhere. and boom, stuff starts going up. People are like, "Whoa!" And then stuff just all crashes down. And I'm like, "Oh man!" I'm like, "I know it's coming, man. You just watch it." Um, but that's, I mean, those things. People that don't know, yeah, I remember the first time coming in. Because you were at Bagram or Kandahar?
Kandahar, but two
Kandahar.
times.
So in Bagram, I don't know if have you ever been to Bagram or not?
Mm-mm.
So Bagram is a high altitude desert surrounded by mountains, and so you have, I can't remember how it is, like 3 or 5 minutes of exposure coming into Kandahar from the mountaintops.
Mm.
And so more or less they dive in and just spiral in and try and land because they don't want to get shot from the mountaintops or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
And so it's
yeah.
like this death spiral thing going in there. The first time I did that, I thought we were crashing. I had no idea what's going on, because you watch
Jeez.
the air crew put on body armor, lights go red and everything because they've entered the airspace, and you're like, oh crap, here we go. That's why I thought you're gonna start seeing like tracers and stuff come across the
Yeah, yeah.
tarmac when we landed, because I mean these guys put all their stuff on and everything. Um, but it was nuts. But so you've never done any personal travel outside the United States?
Mm-mm. We're trying to plan a trip. My vote, not my number one vote, obviously Japan,
Yeah,
but Shades of Green also operates a Korean resort.
yeah, the
And
Dragon Hill Lodge.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
relatively affordable, maybe 4G, 4 grand. I think
yeah,
2 weeks fully guided for
yeah.
two people. I'm like, that's not a bad price to
I would do
be in a
that.
safe area, relative,
Yeah,
have guided people, do like actual tours and everything. So we're
and
looking
that's
into
right there
that
in
one.
Seoul, Yongsan
Yep.
Yongsan base, whatever. Like that museum I was talking about is right outside the gate. It's a cool
Okay,
place to
cool.
go
Cool,
to.
cool.
I mean, there's. I would go back to Seoul in a heartbeat. I mean,
Hmm.
there's a big shopping mall there that's got like a theme park inside it and stuff. It's
Oh
got a
man.
skating rink. I mean, that was cool. Because we're talking about, like, the wife wants to do a cruise to,
Hmm.
some islands and whatever. Um, my passport expired in 2014, so I need to fix all that stuff.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, yes and no. I mean, Europe. I'd love to go back to Europe. I mean, I would
Hmm.
love to go back to Riyadh, to Saudi Arabia, but you can't just
Hmm.
go and tour there. You got to get sponsored to get in. Um, I'd never go to any part of Africa.
Yeah,
Just
not
just a
not
personal
interested.
preference.
Not
I mean,
interested in Europe. Maybe a little.
yeah,
Maybe I think a lot of Europe is not what you think of when you get there.
it's
It's different. Maybe if I did Europe, somewhere like Czechoslovakia, maybe
yeah,
Prague. You know what I mean? Like
yep,
Eastern kind of bloc area would
yep.
be pretty cool. Or maybe definitely Korea, Japan type area.
I wouldn't
I
want to
f-
go to Thailand.
no,
I think
you do or you don't?
I would go to Thailand. You don't think
Yeah,
so?
okay. I don't know. It's Thailand. It's a little sketch, a little bit. Maybe
Yeah,
like
I think.
Vietnam. You
Yeah,
gotta
yeah.
be
Well, I think
street
I'd go
smart
to
a little
Vietnam
bit.
too. I think, but you got to stay in the right places. Number
Yeah, you
one.
gotta know what you're doing.
I mean, you'd want to be on the fringe of where the tourists go versus where the locals are, right? You don't want to just go to
Yep.
the tourist places.
I don't think I'd
Um,
go to India. I don't think I'd
um,
go to Himalayas.
Himalaya, I mean, Nepal kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't think I'd do that.
Maybe. Um, I mean, because I'd go to Belize. I'd go to some South America stuff.
I'd be down with
Um,
maybe Argentina.
you got to
That'd
stay
be
away from
cool.
Brazil, parts of it. I mean, sure, there's parts of
Yeah.
Brazil that are awesome, but there's parts you'd also disappear in the hills. Um,
Like Patagonia type area I'd be interested
yeah,
in, South America. That'd be awesome.
I'd go to Australia in a heartbeat.
I don't so
It's like Little America.
Australia, I'm like
It's like
iffy.
it's the upside down Canada, probably.
Yeah. Australia a little bit, New Zealand a lot.
You could probably knock them out both at the same time.
Australia's pretty big though, but you'd only hit a few places because there are
Yeah,
only
yeah,
like
yeah.
a handful of cities like on the outer edges.
It'd be like going to America and expecting to see Los Angeles and New York City in the same trip,
Yeah, yeah,
kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And that's the same way. I mean, you
They're
got to
right beside each
really,
other, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's like 2 hours away. You got to really figure out where you want
Hmm.
to go. That's the other thing I've seen, where like people from Europe that come to the States and they don't realize, like, oh, Americans don't travel, they don't go outside the United States.
Like,
Then they,
cause Texas is like 30 hours. It's like
yeah, yeah.
forever.
Then they come to the United States and they realize how big it is, and they're
Hmm.
like, oh, you've only been to 5 states.
And the biodiversity within literally a few hours
Yeah,
of each other. You
yeah,
could drive. It's like 9 hours from Florida to Tennessee, right? Or
yeah.
like maybe like 9 hours from Florida to Virginia, and maybe
And you're
like
gonna cross the mountains.
14 hours from Florida to maybe middle of Texas, maybe like 12. But those
It's
are completely
probably gonna be
different
14.
things.
Yeah,
Those are completely different things. You're talking about like coastal, like what's the word? Not Cumberland, but
you're
uh
tropical in
like
Florida.
well, yeah, tropical, but in Virginia, like coastal beach kind
Oh
of
yeah, yeah,
pine trees, traveling like across Georgia, Tennessee, mountainous to
yeah,
flat rocks, or you go to Texas, flat, desert, arid. You know what I mean? It's just
yeah,
completely different within just a 12-hour
yeah.
or less trip.
And I think
Yeah,
just they don't realize how much there is to do and see.
and
I
those
mean,
are all different, complete cultures.
oh yeah,
Like in the United States, completely different cultures.
yeah. I mean, you're gonna find Bucky's in all of them, but it's gonna be different.
Praise be, praise be.
The closest Bucky's to me has a tortilla factory inside it now. They're making their own tortillas right there on in the center of the place.
Man, okay. That's
Oh,
I'm down with that.
when was the last time you were at Bucky's?
We stopped in Georgia somewhere, but it's always chaos when we go,
Did they
you know.
have the chicken finger French fry box yet?
I didn't look for it.
That's the
If I
newest
stop,
thing.
I go for the brisket and egg burrito. I love the brisket and egg.
So the newest
So
thing is they've
freaking
got a
good.
box with like 4 or 5 chicken fingers in it and like a handful of fries, and it's
What?
pretty good. Not gonna lie.
Brisket, egg burrito with some barbecue sauce, and a
So
thing of coffee.
okay,
Amazing.
so the next thing you can go with next time is go with the fried chicken sandwich. It's got a little bit of a spicy, tangy sauce on it, but it's almost like a Chick-fil-A sandwich.
I think I saw a guy eat that. There's a dude on YouTube eating Buc-ee's for a week straight, and I think he spent like $600 because he's eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but he's buying
Yeah,
all kind of freaking crap there too.
yeah.
So now, I don't know how he didn't gain 15 pounds eating Buc-ee's for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but he was running like 12 miles a day too. So he's
I don't know if I could do that. I mean, I
every
could,
once in a while is good, but not all
yeah.
the time.
I mean, and the other part of the problem, we stop at Bucky's like when we drive down at night, and at like 2 o'clock in the morning, the food selection's garbage. The hot food selection,
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah,
because they're not making anything. Everything's cleaned up and done. So that kind of sucks. But I mean, that and I really like their whatever that club sandwiches they've got. They got like a hot club kind of thing going on. It's gonna
I
make you
haven't
feel
done
really
that.
good. I'm not big
I'm
on the
a,
brisket. I'm
I'm
just not
not
a brisket
well.
guy.
I'm okay with brisket. For me, if I do barbecue, I want two things. I want like barbecue pulled pork, yep, or barbecue brisket. Those are my two
Yeah,
things.
pulled
Safe all
pork
the time.
is easy to
Pulled pork
do.
always good.
Yeah,
Always good.
yeah, and that's I mean, and that as much as if anybody were to travel to America and they're like, oh, I want some Americans, go to Bucky's.
You want to see America in a day? Go to Bucky's. You'll see
Yeah,
everything you want.
it's all made
It's
in China.
everything. Yeah. You'll see everything you need, buddy.
Uh, but and there's I mean there's other things like if you're in Greater Nashville, you got to go to Hattie B's or whatever. But
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean there's things there that are probably overrated.
Hmm.
So I just they're yeah. Ate at Cane's like I said the other day for the first time, Raising Cane's chicken
We had a
fingers or
debate
whatever.
about that. I had some people we were talking about. I haven't been there, but we had a guy that had been to there and Slim Chickens. They said
Yeah,
Slim Chickens was better. I was like, I don't know.
I
I
would
like Slim
concur.
Chickens. Slim Chickens is good. I love Slim Chickens.
I would concur that some chickens is better only
Really.
because and yeah, so Slim Chickens they've got like 20 different sauces or whatever you can
Hmm.
try. I think it's just a better deal altogether. Raising Cane's, you know the history of Raising Cane's?
Nah.
Okay, so the guy who started it went to like LSU and he was like a business major or something.
Hmm.
And part of their whole final deal, their thesis or whatever, was create a business, and then they got a grade on this business plan or whatever, right? He's like, we're gonna create this place that makes chicken fingers or whatever, and the professor's like, this place sucks. It's not gonna work. And the guy's like, oh, I'm gonna show you. And he started Raising Cane's. That's what he did. He more or less took his business
That's awesome.
plan and he made a restaurant out of it. And it's successful. But I would concur that Slim Chickens is better than Raising Cane's. But
Slim Chickens is solid.
yeah,
Rock solid.
if you're looking for a strictly chicken finger joint.
I'm a chicken guy, man. One of my favorite things on Sunday. getting the thing of fried chicken, man. I love it
from
every
Publix.
time. Don't matter. But honestly, Publix is a good deal. I'm a Publix guy. It's expensive these days.
Yeah.
Um, but for me, like if I got a box of chicken I could choose, Popeye spicy.
Popeye. Okay, hold on. You think Publix is expensive? Went to
Popeye
Popeyes the other
spicy.
day for like a number seven meal. It was like $14 or something.
Order it on the app. 10-piece chicken with 4 sides, 20 something bucks. $20, big dog.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah,
Get that
I don't know.
spicy. Got to get that little flavor.
Speaking of Publix, I have two kids now that work at Publix.
Oh
Again,
yeah, good.
yeah,
Where's your discount at, man? You getting that
they don't get
discount or no?
discounts.
What
Publix
the
does not give a
heck?
discount for employees.
That's whack. I think they got good benefits for employees though. We have
Well,
a
I mean, they'll
friend that been working there
yeah,
forever.
they'll walk around and just hand out like $100 gift card to
Man,
employees and stuff. Yeah,
so
Publix is
I'm
not
a
a bad
big
place.
public sub guy, but with all the Boar's Head like controversy and stuff, I haven't got a sub in like a minute.
I think
I
it's
love their
good. I think they
subs.
probably had some, a couple of bad lots or whatever, but I would say it's probably fine now.
It's the
Probably still,
factory. It's the factory, dude.
yeah,
They
it
shut
happens
some
in processed
down,
meat
man.
though.
True, yeah.
But
You know a new sub place that I've been tearing up, Jersey Mike's.
my wife is a big Jersey Mike's person.
Dude, I'd never been until like a couple months ago. They cut it right there on
I
the
know.
little thing. It's good. Jersey Mike's, get it Mike's way, oil and vinegar, all the peppers and seasonings loaded out with everything but friggin' tomatoes. Get tomatoes out of here. That's
I'm a Jimmy
so
John's
good.
guy to the heart.
I loved Jimmy John's until two things. Jimmy John's pissed me off. Two things they fricked up on. Number one, they got rid of the Jimmy Peppers.
What?
They got rid of Jimmy Peppers.
When?
They don't have it no more, man. No more Jimmy Peppers. Number two, they don't have Jimmy Mustard no more. The ground mustard. Jimmy Peppers and Jimmy Mustard gone.
So
I'm done with it.
there was okay. So there was a
But
local
when
Jimmy
they had
John's.
that, I love Jimmy John's.
Well, okay. So there was a local Jimmy John's that opened right before COVID, and then it died during COVID, and
I
then
wonder
now
how. What?
well, it just didn't get. I mean, everything shut down during COVID,
Well, yeah, I
and then
guess, yeah.
they're reopening right now. They're reopening one, and so I'm all excited because locally we only have a Jersey Mike's, and my wife's all about Jersey Mike's, and I'm not a
Hmm.
big Jersey Mike's guy, which I probably would be
Tell
if
you
this
one that I
opened up.
don't really care for. I like what
Subway,
they do. Well,
garbage.
freaking Subway's, I don't even
Yeah,
talk about it. It's garbage.
yeah,
That's disgusting.
it's
But
not good.
Firehouse subs, overrated.
Firehouse. I wait at Penn Station every now and then, but Penn Station it went under. Our local Penn Station went under.
Okay, yeah. I haven't been there in a long time.
Firehouse. I've only eaten a few times at
Did you
Firehouse.
have, there's one sub place, and I may misremember the name, but it had like King Kong on it, Blimpies or something. Do you
Okay,
remember that?
so
It had
Blimpies.
swirly kind
So
of.
Blimpies back in the day. I remember Blimpies back in the day, and they cut their stuff in front of you. That was the big thing, is they
Are
cut
they
their
still
stuff.
around?
I don't know if Blimpies is still around. I dated a girl in high school who worked at
I
Blimpies.
got, I used to get Blimpies in college, man.
Yeah. So I was never
Let
in
me
the
look. I'm
Navy,
looking
but
at it. I'm looking
I
at it.
had a sub idea for a Subway shop before, and I should have patented this. I've told it to a few people. Now it's out there on the internet for everybody to know about. But I was going to start a sub place called Atomic Subs. And it was going to be Navy themed, and it would
Oh,
have
that's
like
cool.
a Los
Yeah.
Angeles class would be like a foot long, or you get a whatever the other class is that would be like a 6-inch sub. Extra torpedoes would be like jalapenos on it, and the
Dude,
whole sub shop would be like submarine themed with like portholes. There'd be like a
that's
periscope
cool.
for the kids to play with in the corner and all that, and everything would be um, like Navy themed, even though I'm not a Navy guy. And then you just start a couple of those in Virginia around some Navy bases, and then spread out from there, and it'd be just atomic subs.
So Blimpie still exists. They no longer have King Kong with the cool swirly. It's just a generic shit logo that's like a blimp with a B on it. I mean, come on, man. Where's the guys with the red, like the interesting, like cool shop? You know what I mean? It's freaking lame.
Well, but you can't. So number one, it's a standard and quality thing. You ever
Yeah.
watch? Have you watched the show? Oh God, what was the name of the movie? Michael Keaton, where he's the whole guy who creates McDonald's.
Mm-mm.
Um, so the problem with that was standardizing it. He's like trying to get all the McDonald's to run the same menu and not to serve fried chicken or hot
Mm-mm.
plate meals or whatever. He's like, no, we make cheeseburgers and hamburgers and fries, and this is what we do, whatever, and
Hmm.
milkshakes and whatever, and this is our standardized menu, and that's how we make everything so easy and so streamlined and all that. But that's the problem then is getting your workers to wear the shirt and the tie and the hat and all
Yep.
that stuff and do all that and not look like slobs and whatever. Um,
Bro, you can have a gorilla with a Blimpie sign. If you can get some jackwagon to wear a T-shirt with a beaver with a baseball cap, and it sells like hotcakes, buddy,
yeah,
you could have a gorilla
I
on a Blimpie.
guess.
Like, get out of here! I'm not buying. I'm not buying off on
I don't know.
that.
Maybe I'll have a Jersey Mike sub tomorrow just for
Get a
you.
Jersey Mike's. I get the I think it might be the club. It's got like 4 different meats. It's loaded
Yeah,
out. I get the mini because they're big boys, dude.
yeah.
Like they're thick. I get the mini and I get it Mike's way. Coated out bacon, all the stuff, all the veggies except for tomatoes. Get that shit out of here. Throw them straight in the trash.
Oh man,
Don't you give me no
you're such a
tomatoes.
non-vegetable guy.
I love vegetables. I don't do tomatoes, but I'll eat salsa all day. I don't know why. It'll make any damn sense. It'll make no
Yeah,
sense.
you ketchup too, probably, which is
I
barely a
love
food.
ketchup, you maniac. Of course I love
That's
ketchup.
barely a
You
food.
you are the
You should use it
hypocrite.
as a sauce to
Bro,
cook with, maybe.
you'll be tearing up barbecue sauce, which is daggum ketchup with a couple extra steps.
Uh, I prefer mustard barbecue sauce to start with, so
Alright,
let's get
fair.
there to
Alright.
start with.
Alright,
I'm
fair.
a Carolina mustard sauce guy to start.
What about Carolina vinegar sauce?
That's good too.
I like
I
that.
don't
That is
like so
good.
I like my sauce a little bit thicker, so I don't want the liquidy
Okay,
vinegar,
I'm
which you
with
can
you. I'm
find.
with you.
Um, but I do. There's a uh, I really like when you get to the super tangy like Kansas City style sauces. I
Okay,
do like
yeah.
those too.
There's a
It's almost
good
got like a bite
one.
to it.
Traeger makes maybe it's a Texas, but it's like a liquid version of their Texas kind.
Yeah,
So it's real liquidy, kind of like not vinegar. It's more solid. It's like an in between of like a
yeah,
vinegar base versus like a thick like Sweet Baby Ray's kind of
yeah, yeah.
thickness. It's in between. You might like that. It's got some zest to it.
I'll
You might
flip
like
for it.
that. It's a red bottle.
Is it where are you finding that at?
I think we did Kroger pickup. They had a
Our
Kroger.
our Kroger is closed currently. Yeah. I walked in it
Okay.
one day. It smelled like pee. The next day, people are posting videos of
Ooh.
rats on it
Oh.
on the local Facebook page, and now it's not open. So I'm not sure what's going on
Yikes.
there.
Somebody
But
had a oopsie in there.
it's like in a strip mall though. It's not a standalone building. So I'm sure
Ah, I
everything in it
see.
when it I'm sure when it got with that hard freeze, I'm sure everything moved inside and made a home, and
We've
they
had
probably
such growth in our town. Our Kroger bought out the rest of the strip mall and made a whole extra wing
oh
to
my
their
lord.
Kroger. I'm like,
Yeah.
yo. And I
Yeah.
used to I used to like to go to shop and get groceries in person there. We go to
Yeah.
Costco now. But I used to like going there because I get a hot coffee at Starbucks and just wander around
Yeah.
while we're getting groceries, buying crap we don't need. You know what I mean?
Well, but like, so the local Kroger, I mean, the ceiling feels like it's only like 8 feet off the ground. It's dark.
Oh, I
I
don't
mean,
like
they need
that.
to level it and buy a whole or build a whole new one. The
Yeah.
problem is they're getting crushed by Publix, and so I don't think
That
they've
one
got,
Publix over your way is pretty
yeah,
nice.
they don't have the throughput to build a new,
Hmm.
to justify building a new one. So, but if this is going to go under, I don't know what they'll do. But that whole strip mall, I mean, they've had a Ross, then it was a Gorman's or something, then it's something else,
Mm.
and it's just, I don't know. But they keep building new stuff. We just got an Old Navy and whatever else built in that
Okay, yeah,
across the street
nice.
down the way. So I don't know. It is what it is. But it's all I don't know. Oh, I want to talk about something real quick, and this is off the subject. We've drifted anyway. We were talking about
This
Kroger and
Royal
the Mexican
Ramble.
sandwich. Yeah, I know. So I my dryer, 10 years old, bought it in like 2015.
Yeah.
It started squealing like a stuck pig the other day. Just every
It
time
was
you turn it on, it
like
starts
a
squealing.
bearing or something.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, I know. I got it narrowed down to like three things. But anyway, so I'd like to put this out there. So I ordered, went online and I ordered some parts for it. So I ordered an idler pulley, a new belt, and a rear drum support roller kit. And I got this stuff from appliancepartspros.com. I'm gonna plug this if anybody's listening to this, right?
AppliancePro.com.
Pros with an S, pros,
Pros.
appliancepros.com.
Smash that
Here's
like button.
yeah.
Subscribe.
So here's why that thing is cool. If you go and you order, okay, so you go in there and you're like, hey, you can type in, my dryer is squealing, and it'll come up with a list of parts that could possibly be wrong with it. And then
No
you click
kidding.
on the part idler pulley, it has a YouTube video that goes along with it and how to replace the part
Oh, that's
for your
awesome.
model of machine. I've fixed my fridge with them. I've
No
fixed my
kidding.
washing machine with them. I've fixed my dishwasher with them by ordering parts from them. So I ordered like $50 in parts. It'll be here on Tuesday, and my kid and I are going to fix the dryer.
That's
And it's 10 years
awesome.
old. If I can get it to go another 5 years with $50 in parts on it, so be
Deal.
it.
Deal.
I
Yeah.
mean, even if I've got to change the heat elements, you know what? I'm going to go to appliancepros.com, order a heat element, and change that stuff out.
What you ought to do while you're taking it apart, you ought to call the people that clean your dryer vent thing out and
My
just
dryer
have it.
vent's like 4 inches long.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. Ours is like, shh.
Nope. I reach in and just pull it out.
Okay,
It's
yeah,
right
yeah,
there
yeah.
on
I'm
the
with you.
outside.
I'm with you.
Yeah. But it's oh, my old one, my old house that I had before, it went the full length of the house. I'm like, who did this? Why would you go? You
Yuck.
could have gone the other side, just turned 90 degrees and
Mm-hmm.
been like 9 feet. Now we're gonna go 22 feet this way. Okay.
What
We'll
will
start a
be the
fire.
most expensive thing we could do
Yeah.
with this?
But no, that and I just
Yeah, you gotta let me know how that goes.
it's yeah, it's the washer. I replaced parts, and it got to the point to where it was this part, then that part, then this part. It's kind of like fixing a car where you fix
Now,
the
hey,
tires, then the drive
when
shaft, the transmission, you just go all the way up to the engine, and it's like there's a
when your
point in time when
kiddo
it stopped.
when your kiddo's helping you, you gotta pull the classic dad move. Hold that light
Oh
still.
yeah, no, yeah, I'm gonna
I'm,
yell it
I'm
at the
shaking
flashlight.
it around.
No, we're both gonna be wearing headlamps.
Okay.
It's gonna be the youngest with me. She likes to help, but
Okay. Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
both gonna be
Good.
wearing
Good. Good.
headlamps. We're both gonna have yeah. That's
Good.
but it should be all right. But no, it is one of the um like hidden gems of you call somebody to come and fix that, it's gonna be $150 for them to knock on your door,
Absolutely.
and then you're gonna pay for those parts. They're gonna watch the same goddamn video,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
gonna do it.
Yep.
And I mean, as long as you've got a few wrenches and screwdrivers and whatever else, you can change this stuff. And we live in a disposable world. If I can limp this thing along for another 5 years, I'll be happy.
Heck yeah.
But that's yeah, just the appliance pros. Is that what appliancepros.com? I gotta get
Our non-sponsor of today.
appliancepartspros.com. Our non-sponsored sponsor for this video. There'll be a link in the description, maybe. Yeah, I'll put it in there.
That'll be
I
awesome.
don't care.
We'll
I'll
do
put
it.
the link in the description
Hell yeah.
because it's awesome. I mean, it, the thought that goes into that though. If you're going to sell these parts for a DIY fix it yourself stuff, why not have a video of some dude fixing that part?
Genius.
And it's step by
Genius.
step. And I mean, they'll
Hmm.
even tell you, oh, a different model number may have this piece on here. You got to move this way. It's yeah, it's pretty cool. Um, but yeah, it's not a foreign country. There are guys in America that speak English, unlike us talking about traveling around the world and whatever else.
Nice.
It's a dryer that's probably made in China, but these guys
Hmm.
are showing me how to fix it in English. But yeah, that's I don't know. I mean, I think we've hit a natural end for today.
Yep.
It's a good time. It's been a crazy week at work. You're gonna hopefully come back to it someday. We'll see
Maybe.
you. Um, but no, yeah, it is. It is. It's been fun. Hopefully, I don't know when we're gonna try this. I think we're looking at maybe a cruise in the fall. So we'll see. If you do end up going to Korea, man, let me know. I'd be jealous to
I
experience
gotta
that.
bribe my parents to watch the kids.
They should want that every day the kids get older. If they don't see them, they got
Oh, they
to
do.
they got to give
That
them
I'm
that.
playing the game.
Yeah.
Playing the game.
Well, they just saw them too, like last
I
month
know.
or
I gotta give
whatever.
a little break. I gotta give a
Oh,
break.
they did they tear them
So
up
that
that much?
so they miss them a little bit. No, I gotta give them a break so they miss them again. They
Oh,
forget
okay.
that they just saw
Yeah.
them.
You got
Get
to
them to
build
watch them
that.
for a couple weeks.
Yeah. I think the airfare is gonna be the biggest killer on that trip.
Yeah. So that's not included in the trip. So
Yeah.
I think it was like 3 grand for both of
You
us.
said it was 2 weeks.
2 weeks. 11 days I think
You gonna
total.
work in the middle of that, or just take 2 weeks off?
I'm not doing any work. I'm just taking time. If I get that one job I told you about, maybe I'll use company car. I don't know.
I'm gonna bump some elbows and let's go
Yeah,
visit Korea.
I'm building relationships over here. Drinking
Maybe.
soju. Good. Stranger
Maybe.
things have happened.
But anyway, so that was episode 6. We rambled on, talked about
Mm.
traveling outside the states. I got to take that one off of the list, and we will see what happens on the next one. I don't know how long it'll be, a week, 2 weeks, 3 months. I don't know. We'll see. But other than that, it was a good time. Glad to talk, and we rambled on. And we will see you on the next one. Thank you.
Awesome. See ya.
Bye.